My parents divorced when I, 16 male, was 4. My dad married Becca when I was 7 and stepped up to be dad to her kids, who at the time were like 3 and 5. My dad tried to ban the word step from our house. For a good 3 years, he told me I shouldn't call Becca my stepmom or her kids my step-siblings. He said I could call her some other mom variant, but her kids were my brother and sister, period. Becca also chimed in on this crap, and she told me countless times that I was her kid's brother, and therefore my mom should be expected to be more involved with them. My mom, who I lived with half the time, but now I live primarily with her, was expected to buy them gifts and invite them over to our house and treat them like part of her family. She was expected to call them my brother and sister, and I guess act like they were her stepkids versus her husband's stepkids. To me, they have always been step-siblings. Becca is my dad's wife, or stepmom. Though stepmom to me is more of a close title, since my friends who use that are close to their stepparents. I'm not close to Becca or my dad. I ended up choosing to stay more with my mom, because I could not handle Dad and Becca constantly bringing her kids' inclusion at my mom's up to me and around me. They would either talk to me about it or would corner my mom at exchanges in front of me. My mom would always try to minimize contact, but my dad and Becca made it a point to be present at the moment I would get to my mom's house or car. My mom is significantly better off financially compared to my dad and Becca. I always assumed it's why they pushed the idea of my mom buying them gifts and including them in her life has been such a big push. They know I have stuff Becca's kids never get, and they know I get cool experiences. The last time my dad and Becca brought it up, I got mad. I had already told them to stop countless times in the past. Told them to leave my mom alone and leave me out of it. I told them Becca's kids were not my brother and sister. They're my step-siblings, and I was going to keep using step regardless of how much they like it. I also said they are not my mom's kids, therefore not included by her when she has me. I said she needed to get over that fact, that they can't demand my mom buy gifts like she has 3 kids or open her home like she has 3. That she just has me, and by demanding crap, they are making crap toxic as duck. I think the point that got them the most mad was saying they are not my brother and sister. They have always been big on step being exclusionary. To me, it's just true though. No hard feelings towards Becca's kids, but step-siblings is how I see them. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. It is wrong of your dad and stepmother to use you to manipulate your mother into claiming her ex's stepchildren, especially when you were younger. They should never have put you in that situation. Also, it is wrong for them to expect your mother to see their children as hers. It may seem unfair that the others have less than you, but life isn't fair. I fail to see how you could be at fault. You call it like you see it. Only you can decide how you want to relate to them. And if that makes your dad and his wife upset, that is a them problem, not a you problem. Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. They see you as a bridge to your mom's bank account and are upset you aren't helping them with that. How do they not understand that trying to force a relationship with someone is the surest way of blocking a relationship growing organically? Not the a-hole. But I'm left wondering if they are your father's bio children, and why he and his wife feel so comfortable pushing them on you and your mother. I am 20. Former BFF is 22. My dad's been in and out of my life due to D. For the past 3 years, he's been sober and is about to move closer to me because of a new job, or so I thought. I'm getting married Friday. I was excited about my dad's progress. He was going to be the one to give me away, but that's not happening. My former BFF has a 2-year-old daughter. As it turns out, her daughter and I are related. C and my dad have been in a secret relationship, and he only straightened up after he found out she was pregnant. I always thought it was odd that my dad was overly affectionate with C's daughter, but it makes sense now. I found out C's daughter is my half-sister when we were rehearsing for the wedding, and I realized that I forgot decorations at my house. C's daughter got sick all over her clothes, and she didn't bring extra, so she needed to get some. I told her I'd take her and my daughter by her apartment to get clothes, because it's on the way to my house. I go in, and I had to use the bathroom, so I follow her into the apartment. When I step outside the bathroom, I see her dress and my dad's suit hanging up together, presumably from the cleaners. In her daughter's room where she was changing her, I also saw a framed picture of my dad holding her. I asked her what it was doing there, and she froze and was unable to come up with an explanation. I got back in my car and drove to my house without saying a word. I left her and her daughter back at her apartment, and I still don't regret it. I was angry and didn't want to go back to the venue, obviously. Eventually, my fiancé came and took me back. I didn't tell him what was going on, but he knew I was upset. When we got back to the venue, I unleashed hell on my dad and called him out and told him he wasn't going to be the one to walk me down the aisle and give me away. It ruined the mood and everyone left. My mom said I should have handled it in private and not been as harsh, so I'm beginning to rethink my choice. I texted my former best friend to let her know she was uninvited, and I've blocked both of them on every platform. I know I caused a scene, but I was so angry and still am. I can't believe they've been doing this behind my back for a few years. My dad isn't moving so he can be closer to his job. He's moving in with my former best friend because they have a kid together and they're in a relationship, and they have been for quite some time now. Not only that, but she lied to me about who the father was, and I believed her. Not the a-hole. People might say that they're adults and it's none of your business, but duck that blasé attitude. You had a new sister, and your dad was ducking your best friend. If they got married, your old best friend is now your new stepmom, and that can utterly ruin a family dynamic. Not the a-hole. You did handle it a little poorly, but I'm not going to say you suck for that, because you were reacting in real time to learning that your dad had fathered your best friend's child, which is a lot. And dad and friend are the ones who created that situation. They not only lied about it, but were careless about their lies. So you didn't even find out by being told too late. They let you stumble into it. On top of that, it sounds like there may be some underlying resentment because your dad cleaned up his act and moved closer for your friend and the baby, when he never did for you. My 17-year-old daughter turns 18 at the end of this month. She doesn't expect anything for her birthday. She's a modest girl for her age and has never asked anything from anyone. We were out shopping at a thrift store and she found a purse she wanted. It was $9. I told her to put it in the cart. She didn't get anything else from the store because there wasn't much she was interested in. I set the bag down at the checkout with the rest of the items I was buying, since it was just one item she found, so I wanted to save time and group it with my things instead of doing separate checkouts. We arrived back home. I got a good look at the purse and I really liked the bag. I know she found it herself, and I already have so many purses myself, but I searched for it online after she found it and can't find it anywhere. So this could be the only time I'd find it. My daughter was looking at the bag. I told her how much I love the bag and that it was $9. She was talking about how she liked it very much as well. I felt bad that she bought me a coffee mug I liked at the shop, so I told her that she could use the bag once in a while if she wants, or if she really liked it, that she could buy it from me for $9. Apparently, her and her dad had a secret conversation over texting. Her father and I are separated. We have been for several years. He sent me a rude message about how he doesn't pay me hundreds of dollars of child support for me not to get my daughter something, especially since her birthday is coming up. I responded and told him that it's not as if he's ever given her anything for her birthday or for Christmas, so he's being awfully hypocritical about parenting. Then he argued that I don't let him see our daughter. I offered my daughter that she could borrow the bag or buy it from me for $9. She had two choices. I bought this bag, so it is ultimately mine. She can buy her own gifts if she wants. She's an adult at 18. Adults buy themselves gifts if they really want them for their birthdays. Yes, the a-hole. Wow. The fact that she never asked anything from anyone, and the one time she actually does ask you for something, and you want to keep it for yourself. What is wrong with you? Yes, the a-hole. When a kid tells you they like something and their birthday is coming up, and you say, put it in the cart, it's implied that it will be a gift. Later, deciding to keep it unless she pays you for it is honestly selfish and cruel. I don't blame her for complaining to her dad. You probably made her feel like she was the crazy one for being upset after you got her hopes up and then bait and switched her. Yes, the a-hole. The way you said it while you were in the store really made it sound like you were just going to get it for her. It sounds like you changed your mind once you looked at it and decided that you like it. Are you giving her anything for her birthday? Honestly, you don't sound like a mom here. You sound like an older sister trying to pull rank on the younger. Just give her the bag if it's no big deal that it was just $9. My childhood best friend Bill passed away about a year ago. He got into jewelry making in high school and has always been my go-to person for jewelry. He even created my engagement ring. His work was very professional. Like, he'd design it, and he had a 3D printer that he'd use for printing, then cast. Not sure exactly how it works, trying to give some context. I was having lunch with Bill's widow, Susan, the other day, and she mentioned that she wishes she has some jewelry he made. Turns out, Bill finished all of his orders before he passed, and that there was nothing remaining. Also, she's never received any pieces from him because it wasn't her style. She's more free-spirited, into handmade arts. I felt really bad for her, so I offered to give her one of my pieces made by him. When she came over, I showed her the pieces I picked out that I thought she'd like and I was willing to give away. She said she'll decide later, but wanted to see the rest of the pieces made by Bill. When I got them, she asked if I can pick from all of them. I asked which ones. The first one she picked I ruled out because they either contained family jewels or are sentimental like wedding presents. Then the next piece she picked out, a solitaire pendant. I said she couldn't have because I promised my niece she can have it as a graduation present, since she wore it to her first communion. She accused me of making up excuses at this point, since my niece was 8. Then I pointed out the stone was a synthetic white sapphire, so not worth much. She got really offended and said she had no intentions of pawning it and left quickly after. I feel really bad, but my niece loves that piece and plays with it all the time. I don't know why I felt the need to tell her that at that moment. I can see how she's interpreting me as looking down on her, because she was a housewife who is now a waiter, not that there's anything wrong with waiters. I really didn't mean it like that, and feel like an a-hole. I know if I talked to my niece, she'd be okay with us gifting it to Susan, so that's what I was going to do. When I told my husband, he said I did nothing wrong, and that maybe Susan was going to pawn it. I want to believe him, but partly because I want to keep it. Not the a-hole. You gave her a selection to choose from and she tried to go with something else. Stick to your guns. Not the a-hole. She overstepped a lot by thinking she could choose from all your jewelry when you were offering her one piece. She should have taken it and thanked you instead of waiting to get more expensive jewelry. That does sound like she was looking for something to sell, or just being greedy. Not the a-hole. You offered to give her something. You have the power to say no. This person wanted to pick from what you considered to be pieces close to you after she turned her nose up at the initial offerings. I know I'm the a-hole for this line, but if it meant that much to her, she should have had him make her one before he passed. Instead, she's relying on someone else to give up their belongings to please her. She has no attachment to these items, but your niece does. You try to be good to your friends' spouses, and sometimes they spit in your face. That's all this lady did, in my opinion. So here's the deal. I'm 16 male. Got step-siblings 18 female, 17 female, and 15 male. My dad married their mom when I was 8. About a month before they got married, which is when they became engaged, they sat the 4 of us down and asked us to give our blessing on the marriage. My step-siblings all did and were eager for it to happen. I was not. All 4 of us lost our other parent before that point. Their dad died about 3 or 4 years before that point, and my mom had died 2 years before. At this time, Dad asked me why, and I said it was all too fast for me, and I wasn't ready for a new family to come in and take over what used to be us and Mom. They told me my reason wasn't good enough, and they were ready, and I would thank them one day. They have forever talked about how special our family is because we choose to be a family. We got to pick our family, etc. I have told my dad and his wife both how much it bothers me when they say it like that, because I hadn't chosen this. They told me I would come to understand with time. It's been 8 years. I don't feel different than I did 8 years ago. I didn't choose them, and honestly, I likely wouldn't choose them if I had a choice. They all like to ignore the fact that I said what I did, and instead say all 4 of us kids agreed and were excited for the wedding. Even my step-siblings will say I chose them, and they chose me. Only half of that is true. My dad and his wife celebrated 8 years married with some family. Everyone was having a good time, but I was annoyed hearing all about how we were family by choice and how we chose each other, so I spoke up. I said everyone else chose, but that I had said no when asked. And I was told my reasons weren't good enough, so they'd chose for me. I said I understand I didn't get to dictate my dad's life, and that's fine, but the least they could do is not lie and say I chose this marriage and family. The mood soured. My grandparents could not believe Dad had dismissed me way back then, and then talked about how happy I was about it. My dad, his wife, and my step-siblings said I spoiled a happy family moment with my outburst, and that makes me childish and mean. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. For an emotionally difficult problem, you have a pretty accurate view on it. I think if they'd shut up about the choice thing, you'd have let them have their happy marriage. But going on and on about it suggests they're overcompensating, and it's not fair to drag you into it and lie about your feelings. That's hurtful and selfish. They're constructing a narrative that makes them look better without regard to how it makes you feel. Telling the truth was the right thing to do. It made them uncomfortable, but they deserved it. Maybe now they'll think twice about dragging you into the happy chosen family story. Not the a-hole. They asked for your blessing. You said no, and that it was too fast for you, a grieving 8-year-old. And they dismissed you? Obviously, you can't tell your adult father what to do with his life, but they were such a-holes with that comment, and then proceed to lie to everyone for 8 years. Your family deserves to know that you didn't feel comfortable with your new family, and that you didn't choose them. You are so not the a-hole here, seriously. They've all tried to gaslight you for 8 years, and they call you mean for not lying for them. They can have their happy family moment, but it's not your moment. It never was, and it never will be. I'm really glad that your grandparents could see the seriousness of the situation, and I hope you can keep them in your life once you're legally an adult and can get away from your so-called family.